Hi everyone, welcome to Ethernal Realms and welcome to this reading. We will see how compatible you are with the person in your mind. We will divide the reading into physical compatibility, then the emotional, we have mental, which responds to your thought processes and your communication style. And also we will look at the spiritual compatibility. And finally, with these oracle cards here, we will see, what the compatibility type is. That is what the relationship is meant to be cultivating within the two of you. So we have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. Whenever you're ready, pick with your intuition. If you're not sure how, you can, view the video in the ribbon above. But once you've made your choice, the timestamps for your reading are in the description box in the comment below. So whenever you're ready, we will get started. Hi pile 1, welcome to your reading. We will see how compatible you and your person in your mind are in this 4-factor compatibility test. I will keep your crystal right here. We will take a look at this card at the very end. It's just a general overview of what type of compatibility you have. But first, let's see your physical compatibility, then we move into the emotional, then mental, and your spiritual. Okay, so we have the 3 of Wands coming up first. Let me just change the mode. Yes. Okay, so we have 3 of Wands, which looks pretty nice. We do like fire signs when we have physical topics. Then we have the 5 of Wands, also great in this space. And we have the 7 of Pentacles, which is another nice suit to have in a physical sense. So let's talk about this, then we get into the next cards. So 3 of Wands indicates that it shows good promise and that there are sparks to keep it alive. You could have experienced a lot of chemistry. The 5 of Wands talks about tension that you feel. And 7 of Pentacles is basically you can, you're sensual as well. It's not just being raw about things, even though that is definitely part of the equation. But 7 of Pentacles can indicate that you can take your time, enjoy each other's company. And it just is good times that there's that chemistry and you see the results of that. Basically 7 of Pentacles can also say that you might want to spend some more time, so it's not really going to be extremely quick. Perhaps you develop the physical bond a little bit later after you get to know each other, but while you are going through the process, you definitely feel a lot of magnetism towards one another. Yes. 5 of Wands can also indicate that there is competition for some of you if you're like very, very casually dating so far, or it's not yet exclusive. If that's the case, then there can be some competition that it's coming up. But again, it's about, with the 7 of Pentacles, it basically says slow and steady wins the race, or the patience is the key. And we need to give some relationship its time to develop before we get into a more, tangible or the physical compatibility expression, basically, right? But yeah, that's going to depend. Please rely on your intuition, because each and every person is different, and how you conduct yourself within relationships is as well different. So yes, but either way, patience and time and kind of understanding each other on a deeper level is only going to make the physical compatibility much, much stronger. Okay, it's already really good to start off with, and there's a lot of tension, but it can get way better. That's my point, basically. So I want to get you some astro dice. I wasn't sure if I want to do it already or first do the tarot. So let's just do this. Physical compatibility, please, for pile 1 with that person. We have 11th house, Pisces, and Mercury. Okay, so there is an innate understanding of one another, and perhaps you can communicate well in this particular case. Pisces can also indicate sensuality, taking something easy, not rushing through any of the process, and so on. There could be some quirks. Perhaps you don't agree with those things, or it's vice versa. There's perhaps a different way of approaching the physical bit, but again, you can like come to a middle ground. There is compromise possible. There is a lot of adaptability that's coming through here. But open communication would be a good place to start if there are differences in the way that you go about things or in your preferences. Okay, then we have the Four of Wands in your emotional department, which is excellent. Then we have the Eight of Wands, also really nice. Both are, again, fire signs though, so a lot about the chemistry. It could be a newer connection. And we have the Nine of Cups. Okay, so Nine of Cups is really good for an emotional setting. You're fond of each other. Perhaps one of you has manifested the other, honestly. Nine of Cups is a wish come true. But it can also be that you feel as though you understand one another on a different level, and as if you can open up and talk about different things. It could be that you bonded over topics surrounding family, or like talking about the foundations, upbringings, things like that. So the conversations you have in the time that you spend with each other, that's very important in cultivating the emotional part. But it's absolutely there. And the more you converse with one another, and the more time basically you spend with each other, it just gets better. Kind of similar to the physical thing, that it's already there, but it will get better with time. What else am I getting with the emotions? Yeah, there's something to celebrate there. Feeling celebratory. So it can be that there are aspects of you and them that have been opened up between the two of you, which are not known to other people. So something kind of secretive or like private to the two of you. It's not like a private topic necessarily, but it could be like, I've never talked about my parents, or I have never gotten close enough with anybody to talk about them so quickly, things like that, which makes an emotional bond already right there, to have something that is private, right? So it could be something of that sort. Yes. Also travel. If you like traveling, you could share a lot of those stories, and that also creates that kind of kinship. Perhaps the way that you relax is something you guys have in common, or the type of life you're trying to build. So your visions and aspirations in life could be something similar. So you can find a lot of common footing, and that makes you feel closer to this person. Okay, then let's see. So guys, emotional compatibility, please. We have fourth house, Pisces, and Pluto. Yeah, so I'm really getting the family and the home, private self, your inner thoughts, perhaps some things you just don't say to other people, you found very comfortable in expressing to this person, or again, vice versa. It can also be both ways. So yeah, this divulsion and opening up just really creates that depth within the connection. And I feel like there is also an open curiosity to discover what else is more. And that's why, if you're trying to hold off on the physical part, I think that's okay. Like there is still tension, but I feel there is a desire to connect on a deeper level, or see it through time and see how that develops, because the emotional bit it's seeming very determined in a way, to discover more and connect more in that way. All right. So yes, two types of interpretation came through with that one. Then we have the Eight of Swords for the mental compatibility. So this could be the thought processes you have. So maybe you think different or think similarly. That would be in this setting here. And also it encompasses the communication style. Okay, so that's your mental compatibility. Then we have Four of Pentacles, and we have the Nine of Swords. Okay, so this one's looking a little bit troublesome, because I feel like one or both of you has a lot of thoughts, and there could be some blockages from before. So it can be past relationships or previous traumas unrelated to romance at all. Like, so it can be just personal inhibitions, for example, or some childhood problems, family issues, things like that. So there are some fears and withdrawal, kind of trying to hide things underneath the surface, or like kind of push it back in the mind. And this is not with the intention to hurt anybody, but instead to defend whatever the disturbances are. Okay, so I don't know how to process this, so how can I communicate it to you? That's one of those options. And the other one is I'm way too scarred to have a very solid foundation, so I just focus on just spending a good amount of time and so on. But it might be scary for one or both of you to go towards commitment. So yeah, that explains why the physical part is like this. Either you don't commit at all, or you take a very long time to commit, even if you're with one person. Or like defining the relationship, things like that could be a very, very difficult topic. The best way to approach this would be through just being gentle, because there is a sense of victim mentality going on here, and that's what is making one or both of you kind of go into your shells. It could be both of you, honestly, and that can also be a reason why you feel very drawn to each other. You can learn so much by observing one another, basically. But yes, overall, there is a tendency to cower under pressure, kind of get frozen and not knowing what to think or say. So then it becomes really hard to process your own thoughts first and foremost, because that's hurting everybody individually, but also you're not able to convey it properly to your other person. So yeah, there needs to be some time and space for each one of you to be able to process your thoughts about this person and your relationship together, whatever the case may be at this time. Four of Pentacles really asks for that, to take your space and time and not be apologetic about it. Everyone deserves that. Because both the 8 and the 9 of Swords, they just don't respond well under pressure. Honestly, yeah. You can see the expression right there. It's just absolutely scared and nervous. If this person is shy, then yeah, they could be kind of afraid to say the wrong thing and bring trouble upon themselves, or this always happens to me, so I will get defensive now already, not open myself up and just live in my shell, that kind of vibe going on. So I think taking the time is a good idea if this resonates. Okay, let's see your Aphrodite's mental compatibility for pile 1 with the person in their mind. 5th house, Uranus and Aquarius. Yeah. Okay, so this can be related with some childhood things going on, or fear of self-expression, not knowing what to say, honestly. Uranus and Aquarius, they can be quite brilliant and genius in the sense that they can think of many, many things at the same time. But the trouble arises, and that's really the shadow side of Aquarius, is that they have so many thoughts and many of them are not immediately relevant. Like going on a third date or like admitting that you're having a nice time does not immediately imply marriage and children and the whole route, right? But this person has the tendency to take on a lot more than is needed for that moment, and then creates that pressure. Again, it can be one or both of you, okay? But there is that pressure that is created and then withdrawal, okay? Because that's it, jam-packed. My head is packed and I have no idea what to do with all of this information. That kind of attitude here. So this person could be an Aquarius or a fire sign with some Aquarius placements, because okay. Patience. These guys need some patience and some warmth, kind of explaining to them that you don't mean the whole journey yet. All you're asking for is a third date, or like just some openness. That's it. Like, there is no commitment, we're not signing any papers, it's okay, relax, right? It's kind of that vibe that would be able to bring them out of their shell eventually. Okay, then we have the spiritual compatibility with the 6 of Pentacles, and we have the 2 of Swords, and we have the Hanged One. Okay. This is a very spiritual card. I think it's a good compatibility, I would say. I'm not really sure how to rate it, honestly, because the Two of Swords is a stalemate energy. Because logically, if you try to logic your way through this connection, then that's not going to work. Okay, the communication and the thought department is a little bit messed up, a little bit stuck here, some blockages there. So in a spiritual sense, because we have 2 out of 3 amazing cards for a spiritual connection, the Two of Swords is the thing that's causing a bit of a block, and I think that's related to this communication sector. So how you navigate the logic bit is by having open and honest conversations with equal give and take. So after you ask a question, wait for an answer. And after you say something, like when you are saying something, the other person has to listen. Okay, like really listen, not listen to what they think. They're listening based on what they're thinking. That's the whole projection that happens, and that's where misunderstandings come in within any connection, honestly. But having open, honest conversations will sidestep these things, okay? And the fear will just keep getting minimized, because both of these cards honestly are just needing some faith, okay? They don't have faith, or it might not be directly linked to you, honestly. It could just be that I don't have faith in relationships, how many work out nowadays anyway, stuff like that, okay? The Hanged One is really awesome because it talks about seeing a different perspective. You can learn a lot. I'm not exaggerating. You can learn so much from each other by just opening up. There is an understanding and mutual reception that's going on. So you can help this person, they can help you out, and it has such a potential for, easy and harmonious flow. But it absolutely needs active participation on both sides. Okay, because if not, then Six of Pentacles gets skewed, and one person is giving a lot more, and then they're putting themselves on hold, and therefore are not able to evolve and grow through life, which does not make anybody happy in the long run, right? So we don't want resentment, we don't want guilt, we don't want any of that, right? So yes, open, honest conversation. If either one of you is not up for that, then yeah, that's your judgment call, how far you want to go in this connection with this person here. And Two of Swords indicates through intuition, and like I said, this open, honest conversation is not only to hear each other's words, but understand where the other person is coming from. So, for example, people from different parts of the world who are not as exposed to your language, or people who just learn your language, let's say, they're not well versed enough to communicate very efficiently. It's like trying to understand a baby who's completely babbling all the time, right? It's not that they're absolutely nonsense, they're trying to point at something, but they have their own way of expressing, right? So what do we do when a baby is talking like that, or someone who just now learned the language is, conversing? We're like, okay, you say things and I'm just going to try to understand what you're saying. Let's use body language and other ways, and we can get on the same page, right? You're very patient, you're open, and you are honest when you don't understand something, and when you understand something, you also ask for confirmation if you caught them right, and so on, right? It's that kind of attitude that is going to help both of you. Not in the sense that you talk to them like you're talking to a baby, but you get the gist. And that's how you kind of develop an intuition with the other person as well. So even if they don't know your language, somehow you understand so much better. And someone new that comes in is just all over the place, so confused by what is meant, right? So developing an intuition with each other is a very nice way, a very nice skill that both of you can learn from one another. And this efficient conversation or communication patterns is going to be useful not only for this connection, but just about any relationship that you form, right? So yes, very nice. So let's see, Yashrada's please, spiritual compatibility for pile 1. North Node, Aries, in the 6th house. Okay. So North Node, I really like to see that because it relates with the soul. The soul's mission is that. And Aries in 6th house, it can talk about not rushing through anything in life, but also as in lessons, right? I'm really getting lessons. We have to spiritualize these guys. Perhaps we understand our everyday patterns and habits more. And Aries is all about, let's fix this. You know, we don't do stalemates. We resolve stuff and then we keep moving on. So what is unhealthy? I want to detect it and I want to fix it right now. Okay, and the North Node being there is very supportive of that, asking you or encouraging the two of you to improve the health of your relationship or of your individual lives, or any things that you want to learn from this connection. Take advantage of this opportunity or use this connection to understand more about each other, about relationships as a whole, and also your individual selves, because overall, everybody will be winning, it seems like, as long as there is an openness. That's like ultra important here. Yes. What else can I... Oh yes, maybe shared activities. Yeah, shared activities can be a very nice way to bring some sort of comfort. So not really having one-on-one, sit-down, formal conversation, but going bowling or something else adventurous can open up the two of you. Once again, it's about balance. Like, constantly that is not going to allow you for a lot of meaningful conversations, so maybe mix it up, but I leave that up to you. So the overall type of compatibility, we have success and transformation, and it deals with card number 13, death and rebirth. So yes, there's plenty of transformative energies going on here. As you can see, everything has the scope of changing into something more physical, emotional. We're gonna have to take the help of spiritual for resolving the mental bit, but it still can be transformed, right? And I like to see the word success there, which indicates if you're both willing, there is success. It's like massive growth. And you might feel like you're not moving so much in the beginning, but if you have the patience, if you feel like this person calls to you, and if you're interested, then seeing it through, it does not seem like a problem, for as long as it feels right to you, at least, right? Okay, so that's what I have for you, Pile 1. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading resonated and that it helps you out. Let me know your thoughts, and if you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box in the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye. Hi Pile 2, welcome to your reading. We will see how compatible you are with your person with this compatibility test. So I'm gonna put your crystal here. I will do this later on. It just describes what the compatibility type is for your connection. So let's see what your physical compatibility is. We have King of Pentacles, Elder of Pentacles in this deck. King of Pentacles, we have 7 of Swords. And we have the Tower. Okay, so pretty exciting, I would say, with the Tower there. It can be surprising. Can be something different, sort of quirky, perhaps certain kinks you have, that you might be surprised that the other person has. The roles can be reversed, by the way, so one or both of you have certain kinks that the other is surprised by, but it's not like a deal breaker or anything. I don't think so, with the King of Pentacles being there as well. It suggests that you have good vitality, longevity in this department. So let's clarify, just to be sure. Tower, please, let's clarify that. It can also be the first time for someone, depending on your culture and age. Okay, then the Tower, please. Can we please clarify that? Wow, no way. We're getting the Tower again, but it didn't fall out, so I'm going to put it back. Can we clarify that, please? Okay, 7 of Swords, okay. Can we clarify the 7? 7 of Swords. Yeah, really, like there's a sort of mysterious allure that is going on, and that's what's making things a little bit more magnetic and a little bit intense as well. Perhaps you're like hiding this from others. 7 of Swords, please. Yeah, there can be that, and that is also triggering the the physical department a little bit more. Seven of Swords, please. Okay, 3 cards. Okay, so we have the four of Pentacles. You're keeping it secret, or they are keeping it secret in some way, and that's making things amp up a little bit more in your case. So let's see what else we get with the Astro dice. Pile 1, 2. Physical compatibility. Sorry, pile 2. Physical compatibility with their person. Yes, I just finished pile 1, so okay, pile 2. Taurus, 6,000, Pluto. So longevity for sure, and that mysterious allure is being confirmed over here. Good vitality. I think there is also a good understanding of each other's needs and desires as well. There is a deep connection in that department for sure. Perhaps both of you work out as well. 6th house talks about health routines. Maybe your lifestyles are similar, or you have similar routines, so you're able to kind of synchronize in this manner, in the practical sense, when you would meet and things like that. Okay. Yeah, apart from the kinks and all that, I'm not really getting too much out of it. You could have met under surprising or unexpected circumstances as well. And yeah, it could be in a career setting that you met, and perhaps like maybe people in the same team can't get together or something of that sort. There are different rules in different places, so something like that. So you're having to keep it a little bit secret, but that's not really being a deal breaker in any way. It's honestly just amping things up a bit. Yeah. Okay. So let's see your emotional compatibility. We have the Knight of Swords. We have the 5 of Swords. Okay. Let's here, and we have the Magician. It's very interesting. I'm just going to do your mental as well. This talks about your communication and also your thought compatibility. We have Empress. We have 9 of Cups. Okay, and we have the Knight of Cups. There's a bit of a swapping going on. Why I did the 2 of them together is we have All Swords or Mercury ruled, which talks about communication and the mind. Meanwhile, in the mental compatibility, I'm getting feminine figures who are more feeling and emotion oriented, intuitive, and so on. And we have 2 Cups cards which also relate with, emotion and intuition. So kind of swapped here. I would like to have seen these cups in the emotional realm. But for some reason, it's as though you think with your heart, but you feel with your head. That type of vibe going on. There's a swapping in that way. It could be you or the other person, or it's just that your dynamic within the relationship is like this. On emotional matters, you might prefer to talk it out and express, So when you get, for example, if you're having a disagreement, you would rather have the disagreement than, bury it in feelings or feel bad about those things. But yeah, that's kind of the thing that I'm getting here. And thinking with the heart, so there can be very quick emotional responses that come through without being very deeply processed, maybe. Or it can be that you can talk to only each other, especially if you're keeping it secret. But I'm not really... hang on. Let me clarify this. Not really sure how to explain. It's very different from any of the examples that I can come up with. So, describe the emotional department, please, a little bit more for pile 2. Their compatibility. We have 5 of Swords coming up and the Ace of Cups. So it can be that there are a lot of deep feelings, but there is an inability to express emotions. Can be a result of keeping things secret, but it can also be, being very cautious and making sure the timing is right and things like that, where emotions are a little bit restrained at this moment. Just not to, I guess, win the relationship or what are the words? To not say something too soon and ruin everything, things like that. But Ace of Cups gives me good hope that there is definitely emotions there. But yeah, it's just hard to express. Can we describe the mental realm now, please, for pile 2 viewers? Let's describe the mental space. Okay, we have the Hierophant and we have the Knight of Pentacles. Okay. There could be some traditions as well in between, and practicality. I feel there's a lot of practicality here in terms of communication. Again, you might not be allowed to communicate with each other very often. So I think you understand one another through your emotional responses and kind of intuitively. It depends on how long you have been with this person in whichever way that you are, but through time there can be more evolution. But there can be some workplace or traditional restrictions, so the emotions are very deeply thought about, like I like this person and things like that. You're thinking about it, but you can't say anything really. You just, yeah, I think that's what it means by thinking with the heart, I guess. Right. I hope this is resonating. I honestly can't come up with other examples right now. It's a little bit unrelatable to the stories I've heard, so I'm sorry, but I hope the interpretation itself can make things a little bit clearer. We have the Six of Pentacles for your spiritual compatibility. We'll see your astro dice, by the way, but I just want to get this done. Then we have the Nine of Wands, and we have the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so yeah, there are barriers and hurdles, definitely, but the Nine of Wands indicates perseverance and patience is important. So it can be that like one of you might change their jobs, not because of the relationship, but that there can be an opportunity that comes around, and that kind of allows for this connection to deepen, because Six of Pentacles says that there is a harmonious flow, there is an equal give and take here, and it gets more equal. So it's not like only one person is keeping the secret, right? Both of you are in whatever capacity it is. If it's not allowed in your workplace, then it's both of you not expressing yourself. But that does not mean that it's the permanent state forever. It's just talking about right now, basically. So give it time, persevere despite obstacles, things like that, and at some point it becomes harmonious because you just understand each other. It's like you've worked through the basics, through it's kind of the practical things in the day in and day out of the relationship itself that is creating a deeper spiritual bond. But there is something to learn from both of you, okay? So this person learns something from you and you from them. Nine of Wands does show some promise that if you keep this up and this just keeps on going and neither one gets frustrated, like to the point of ending everything. Again, it depends on how long you already have been with this person and what your situation is. Do you want to commit or not? Is this that kind of relationship for you or not? Things like that. But if you want, then there is a very good chance of success here. It kind of says you're almost there, keep going, don't be hasty, keep at it, and an opening kind of comes in. Six of Pentacles really is talking about opportunity to me in your reading. Okay, so let's see your emotional compatibility, pile 2 please, with the person. Second house, Aquarius and Mars. Yeah. There is some frustration in not being able to express emotions. There can be a tendency to intellectualize it. Okay, so feeling your feelings is not really happening here. but I think a lot of that is on purpose, because of whatever the rules are, in a sense. But yeah, there's the physical chemistry is coming up really loud and clear, and that you are missed, you are thought about, things like that. So it's not like there is an absence of things, but there is discord at the moment in expression. So it can come out in a more passionate way. So when something hits the roof, so it's too frustrating, and then you express. But at other times you try to suppress it, keep it to yourself, and things like that. And oftentimes it might come out in a physical sense, right, rather than open communication of feelings. Although actually you might communicate about feelings whenever you can, but there is also a sense of suppression. It's sort of like both exist at the same time, and that could be the thing that brings a little bit of a frustration. You talk about feelings, but Okay, now the mental compatibility, please. Mars again, first house, and Aquarius again. Yeah, tendency to intellectualize, I'm just going to say that. Or trying to act more cool and detached, as if, there's nothing going on as such. Once again, can be a result of the secrecy itself, or the traditional values, customs, rules, etc. Or self-inhibitions or overthinking as well can be possible here. For some people, it's like if they feel too much, then they get scared of it, right? That can also be there. And as a defense mechanism, one of them would be to be too intellectual about it and not really acknowledge feelings as just feelings. Okay, because Aquarius coming up twice, this person could have Aquarius in their chart. Also, the Seven of Swords corresponds with that. Okay, now your spiritual compatibility, please, for pile 2. Libra, 7th house and Pluto. So, wow, that is very, very nice. Like I said, there is need for patience and perseverance. Pluto does not make things very easy, but it makes things permanent. Okay, like the changes that you go through is likely to have an importance in your life, and there is transformation as well. So through this relationship, you can go through a lot of personal changes, directly or indirectly, i.e. through their vibes, and you might be forced to communicate in different ways because of whatever circumstance you have. Once again, it depends on whether you want to continue with this person, or it's strictly physical or strictly friendly, or whatever the case is. But if you want to deepen this bond, there will always be opportunities whenever Pluto is here, to bring in kind of openness to the situation. So hiding from each other might not be the best case here. You're already hiding from others in some capacity. So yeah, you can form a good relationship on like solid foundation with open communication. I guess that's a little bit perhaps you do talk about emotions, but you're not able to feel the emotions. It can be that you connect via phone, or in like group settings, or it might be a little bit difficult to meet one-on-one. So whenever you do, you talk about the emotions, but you're feeling some other way, like, oh, I'm going to miss this, or I have to go now, or is anybody watching, or whatever the case is. There is some type of obstacle here, but there is also scope for creating a relationship on equal foundations. Six of Pentacles, like I said, it's as though you can talk on and on endlessly whenever you are together. It's very sparkly, very exciting, and like it's also very soothing and comforting at the same time. So it shows promise, but I think the obstacles are in the external world. I think the best attitude to have in such a situation, not in your place, but from what I can see, it would be asking the question, what can we learn from this circumstance? Because whenever we have blocks, there's something to get out of it, something to learn from it. And once we do that, we move on from the circumstance. Okay, the same block does not remain. So what exactly is the obstacle trying to teach you? yeah, that would be if you don't want the obstacle, of course. Okay. Now your overall card, your compatibility type is, we have the edge of evolution feels messy. So yeah, this is kind of breakthrough vibe coming through. There is transformation and change absolutely happening, and also with the Pluto there, this is the planet of evolution and transformation. So changes are inevitable. Perhaps your relationship itself is quite dynamic. And that could be the reason why you're not able to meet up too much. Or if you do, it's kind of sporadic, spontaneous. Yeah, okay, but there is a lot of comfort and also excitement at the same time. That's sort of this stage of evolution, right? You're in between. You have your comfort zone, but you know you're going on to something new to you, and that's also exciting at the same time. Perhaps it's hard to define the relationship. That can also be a thing here. So it's constantly going through certain changes and you don't really know what it is. It's hard to put a label on things, and I can honestly feel that through your reading. I don't really know what to really define as what anymore. It all seems like one whole compatibility reading without too many sections, because yeah, it feels as the boundaries are meaningless, but even then we operate under certain boundaries. So yeah, it can be, let's say the company's rules just don't make sense, it doesn't make sense for that rule or structure to be there, and yet it is. So you have to operate within that circumstance, right? But changes are inevitable, and working with it, and like I said, asking the question of what's the point of this really, like what is it trying to teach, not instead of trying to resisting it, that can be a good step forward in dealing with this situation. One of you could be going through a transition phase as well, or is about to, and that can change the definition of things very soon. Okay, so that's what I have for you, Pile 2. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the messages help you out. Let me know your thoughts. If you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box in the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye. Hi Pile 3, welcome to your reading. We will see how compatible you are and in what way with the person in your mind. So I'm going to put the crystal right there. We will see this in the end. This talks about your compatibility type. Let's get into the physical portion. Then we get into emotional, mental, and spiritual. So we have the King of Pentacles coming up. And then we have the Three of Cups. And we have the Eight of Wands. All right, so nice chemistry. Has the potential for like a stable physical connection here. There's also mutual understanding and respect. The Three of Cups indicates that you have some fond memories in this department, or you have the potential to create fond memories. Also, it can indicate that you first met through your friends, or through a professional network of sorts, and yeah, you had a very nice conversation, and yes, it just got started in that way. So yeah, the physical connection basically says how you meet and in how many ways, basically. So absolutely, there's some strong chemistry going on, and the more you get to know each other, the more it develops, and there is a level of sensuality as well. King of Pentacles does not want to rush through anything, so there is a healthy dose of wine and dine. So that's quite nice to have that in the physical realm. Dates are possible, also meeting up with each other's friends or networks. If that's something you do, it's also possible, and that just kind of up levels the kinship and the relationship that you have with one another. So Pile 3 viewers, physical relationship, physical compatibility, please. I just had to wait so we can know what we have. We have Mercury, Aries, and the 6th house. That's quite a nice conversation, because we always like to see Aries in this department, quite physical, affectionate, in a chemistry type of way, also very bold and honest with, preferences or wishes, and the status of the relationship itself. So how to define the relationship, things like that, can also be quite clear, open and honest. So we like to see that. Sixth house is about the health, so there is good stability, longevity within the connection here, and I feel like you are able to communicate with one another effectively in the physical department, which is always nice to have. It can also be that you have similar interests in this department, and that's why there's that openness, and you're just not shy to talk about anything. So that's quite nice. Okay, so your emotional compatibility, we have the Ace of Wands, then we have the Six of Wands, okay, and we have the Moon. Okay. There can be a fear of vulnerability, and the physical way of expression, is usually the easier way out. Okay, the Moon can be a question mark regarding, the deeper feelings, emotions and affection, like how close are you really? That might be kind of up in the air and a little bit vague, because the Ace of Wands, Six of Wands can talk about, again, it's more cards for chemistry and, physical affection or expression. There can also be some pride, like who goes first, who expresses first. That can also be a bit of a hurdle for like long-term relationships. If this is not that type of scenario, then it makes sense that you have more of a physical connection. Okay. But on the other side, the Moon can talk about kind of intuitive understanding or listening to the subconscious. So kind of depends, are you more spiritual? Are you more open to all of these emotional topics? Is this person, open or not? Like, we're gonna have to find out. The Moon, it just does not reveal the answer right away. It is like, you gotta explore and then we will see, right? So that's what leads to the interpretation of it being, I don't know, it's just really vague. So you might be feeling this way. When you guys connect intimately, it can feel as though there is a very deep bond, but there are some blocks in it coming to the surface and having an open conversation about it. So if you're still interested in each other physically, it is assumed that you are connected emotionally as well, because why would you be with someone you are not affectionate about? And because there is so much openness in a physical way, kind of your reassurances might come through that. This can be, by the way, one or both of you. Okay, so that's coming through. Then let's see your emotional compatibility, Aphrodite card 3. 10th house, Uranus and Aquarius. Okay. There's a lot of thoughts. It comes out more passionately, intellectually, so in like conversations. If you communicate with one another, physically or not, I think it goes without saying for the two of you, or for this type of dynamic, whatever that is. Both of them are the planetary zodiac of the mind, so I'm not really happy about that coming up in the emotional sphere. Perhaps you're more in the getting to know you phase instead of, emotional already. So yeah, it's going to be case dependent for sure. But yes, there is still kind of meeting out in public and, getting to know each other and, spending some quality time with each other. That can also be a scenario where you're just letting that build, and instead, for now, you're going with the physical intimacy bit, and then you discover each other's emotional bearing a little bit down the line. But with the moon there is some potential for it to develop into something more. But rushing too far too fast might not be the best idea. One thing I will say, it might not resonate with everyone, but there can be some pride, not only with like who says what first, but pride to express like, oh, I'm this, I've not been raised on emotions, so I'm not going to express emotionally, things like that, or it's not allowed. There are some like other people should like me, but I should not like them, so there is a fear, but then some people do that. I don't know. So you will know if this resonates with your scenario, right? There is some type of ego or pride going on. That can inhibit deeper emotional bonds. But this person still, this or you or both, still feel like there is something deeper here. And the pride is kind of a defense mechanism to keep things protected or kind of hidden for now, okay? So if it's a newer connection, you might not want to get very touchy-feely right away. You want to just get to know each other and be casual and things like that, and slowly get things deeper and figure out where you are, right? In that case, it makes sense. Then in the mental compatibility, we have the Emperor. We also have the Lovers. You have so many major arcana. The previous two piles did not. And the third major arcana. Okay, so we have the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One in this case. It's a mixed bag. Okay, so the Lovers is ruled by Gemini, which is the zodiac of communication. So I really like seeing that here. It can be that you are on equal footing. Whatever I'm describing could be, in that case, legit for both of you. Perhaps you're still getting to know each other, and from what you know so far, you really like. But you're still getting to know more and more about one another. The Emperor is still having some walls up. There are certain structures, or it can be that you have a little bit of a formal way of communicating with one another. Or like I said, it could be a beginning stage where you're not divulging everything yet, and there's a well-composed answer to everything that is being asked of one another. But yeah, on the flip side though, the Emperor can also talk about ego. Like one person wants to kind of direct how the connection goes. That could be a thing. And yeah, it's going to be different for different people based on your scenario, okay? But both messages are coming through. The Hangman talks about looking at things from a different perspective. So not only thinking about how you think and how you operate, and the same goes for them, but looking from the other person's side. That's the way that this whole combination can express in a very positive way, right? You're seeing things from another perspective, and that gives you a lot more understanding, strength, stability. You know how the relationship is going, you know what to do, things like that, and you can kind of work on it together. Also, learning things from one another as you go. The Emperor is like, it's not just about rigidity, it's stability with a reason, right? So sometimes the stability can be too restrictive, and we need to kind of uproot certain structures, and that's also part of the Emperor's job. But it literally depends on the maturity level or experience someone has. If for example either one of you has actively avoided deeper relationships, then it is more likely to start from the ground up, that we first need to release certain things and then we can build up on it, right? But if you have gone through your fair share of connections and you have learned a great deal from it, then this is a very fabulous combination to have, honestly. Okay, and same goes with the moon. It immediately switches expression from the shadow to the light by going like, you know it deep in your heart that there's something here. And it's amazing because that can be the seed for more chemistry. Why is there so much chemistry here? So I feel like there are a couple of things that are underneath the layer that either make or break the situation, and you already know which side it would lie on. Is it heavily on the physical side, or are you also connecting with each other? Is there kind of a mutual rapport and understanding? Then it changes its expression, right? What else? But yeah, if you're resonating with the egoic part, the Emperor can really talk about not wanting to divulge anything, being too proud to say anything very openly, and not thinking about the other, with the Hanged Man kind of being distant and detached, not replying quickly, not keeping up promises, things like that. But when it comes to intertwining, the person is there with the Lovers right over here. Or it can be that this person is a sweet talker and a charmer, very bold and brash in that way, but immediately kind of gets reclusive and shy, withdraws from the situation when it comes to really expressing what is really real, honestly. Okay, yeah, so take that as it resonates, I guess. Yeah. All right, Astro Dice, please. Mental compatibility for pile 3. Libra, Moon, and the 11th house. Perhaps talking in social settings is more comfortable, or connecting in more social settings is more comfortable than, a serious one-on-one conversation. Or it can, like I said, there were 2 scenarios coming, right? So this is for the latter stage where the egoic, patterns are more. And for the other scenario where there is more of a formal communication, or like, let's create a structure out of this, have an open connection and things like that. This combination would say that you talk about, or you're interested to talk about the future, make some broader decisions, see what your goals are in life, and then kind of see how things can progress. Before you get too emotionally attached, you would like to get to know each other a lot more in terms of aspirations, life goals, the types of friendships and community that either one of you has, and kind of seeing where you can share an equal footing here. Moon and Libra is like, I want to connect, I want to communicate. So I need to know a lot more in order to form that equality here. And that's when, once that is satisfied, the egoic side of things, or the structures that have been built and are unnecessary for the evolution of your relationship, kind of falls apart, okay, in a good way. And this last message applies to all of you. Okay, then we have the 7 of Cups. We have the Devil. Okay, in the spiritual connection we have that. And we have the Knight of Swords. There are definitely some lessons here when we have the Devil. Karmic is it has become a very difficult term to talk about. Honestly, I don't know what to think of it. I don't know what people mean when they say that, to be quite frank, because different people mean a very different thing here. But what I understand from this is that you have certain lessons you can learn from one another, and it doesn't, it is related to emotions and also communication or mentality. So getting to know each other and discussing various scenarios, kind of finding your way together is a good way to utilize this, okay? And now it depends on the two of you whether this is a connection to continue on or not, and in what way exactly. Because the Devil can talk about self-limiting beliefs and restrictions, where you think that commitment is not possible, or that it's too hard, and that we must, put up a lot of defense mechanisms, be constantly insecure about things that have not worked out in the past, which have nothing to do with our current circumstances, things like that. And I guess you two can share some of those problems as well. And in a positive light, all of these cards here can indicate you can work through them together. Okay. With the Knight of Swords, it talks about just keep talking and discovering more about one another, and leave it kind of open and non-committal in like the discussion of those things. Not that you're dismissing one another, but if things get too serious, you can feel free to lighten up the mood and kind of try different things. You can bond over with the Devil, I would say, some kind of a shared problem you could solve. What is that? The room where you get locked in and you have to solve some puzzles? The escape room. Yeah, something like that. It could be fun for both of you to do together. You can see how you resolve things and how you work with each other, and that can really open things up to understanding how each of you reacts to circumstances, right? The Devil is honestly, like, there are certain shadows, but the shadow exists because there is light. It's just a deflection of it, so we don't want to deflect it. Then we have to go into it. There's no point in running away from the situation. So if you don't learn whatever it is that you need to learn from this connection, then there will be another connection that tries to teach the same things, and vice versa. It applies as well. So I think based on what I see here, it would be okay to continue on with this person. It's obviously a judgment call, and I cannot really decide for you because we're getting so many different messages. But Knight of Swords can be that if you follow through, there is a very good chance of finding freedom or breaking through from a pattern or a set of patterns, also get more grounded, realistic, and understand the sincerity and things like that can come about, because Devil connects with Capricorn, and there is a maturation related to that. So both of you could be helping each other mature more in a relationship sense. Okay. All right. So let's see your Astro Dice spiritual connection, please, for pile 3. We have the 8th house, Sagittarius, and Jupiter. Yeah, see. Yes, so confirmed. I'm not getting a very negative feeling from the Devil. Yeah, I'm not. Because 8th house is about the secrets and the shadows and mysteries, things that we have left in denial. It's kind of, we think we're like afraid of it, and it becomes a bit of a fear because we're told to fear it. But honestly, when you face up to it, it's not that scary. It feels scary before you face it. Okay, because you don't really know what to expect. But with the 8th house stuff, you just go see it and you're like, whoa, okay, so that's a part of me. And it has been neglected. So that neglected bit is feeling sad and is acting up like, the first time that it was hurt, right? So if something happened when you were a child, or the first relationship that you had, things like that, so that part of you, it still reacts the same way when you interact with that suppressed part of you. Okay, so when you meet the shadow, you become light because you understand, and that understanding and awareness and acceptance is exactly what the light is, the whole soul point of transformation. So Jupiter in Sagittarius says that there is a very expansive and knowledgeable heightening in maturity, awareness, and also individual and collective growth that can come through from this connection. So yes, there is also a sense of protection, that nothing will happen in a way that is not planned by the two souls, basically. And okay, in the mental realm, we do have Lovers, so it can talk about, like, you have thought that both of you could be soulmates of some type, but there is still a lot more to discover. And part of being a soulmate is that you help each other evolve and deal with certain things. So it's not all roses and sunshine. There are karmic lessons as a part of serious relationships. There are a couple of things we need to learn. We're not perfect people, and it's really hard and pressuring to expect that people should be perfect, right? So we're going to remove that pressure, and we just deal with what comes instead of trying to label it karmic and therefore bad and difficult, or soulmate and roses and sunshine, right? Okay, but there's so much to learn that it actually wisens you guys up, and it deepens the bond as well. And there is no need to be ashamed of, anything physical or intimate or being vulnerable. Eighth house is usually suppressing that and does not want to, reveal too much. But there is no need to be afraid here, because that's exactly the limitation. Okay, it can be self-created, self-inhibited as well, and it's time to kind of pierce through that. Go for it and talk with one another openly, or in whichever way that you feel is a good way to sort it out if you want to continue this connection. If not, it says that you have a very nice physical intimacy and you can keep on going in that way if you want, and keep it till that point. It is really your choice when it comes to the 8th house. Some people can continuously run away from their shadows, and it works. For some reason, it just works in their lives. Meanwhile, some others, they just absolutely can't avoid it because circumstances make them face head on. So it depends on your circumstance and your soul's plan, honestly, as to how this will play out or how you want it to play out. So your compatibility type, we have the distraction of shiny things, which corresponds with the devil energy. So yeah, there are some blocks to be dealt with. There is intense, attraction for sure, and that does not seem to show any signs of stopping. But if there is a sense of dependency or addiction, obsession, these types of things, then it's, I guess, there is something that is wanting to be healed. That's why you keep getting pulled towards this person. So ask a little bit deeper to yourself. You can talk with this person if you want, if you feel comfortable, but it's also important to observe yourself within the dynamic and kind of go through it. Because sometimes I have noticed that when one person, I'm assuming, there is a soulmate connection, when one person works on something, there is a little bit of an evolution that happens in the other person as well. It's not in the equal measure because, both people's rates can be quite different, and also willingness plays a big factor. But there is a definite minor change, at least, in the other person. So the more you observe your relationship and learn from it, it is likely that this person also does that, maybe with a bit of a delay, but still, or at least the willingness to do something about it can change too. It does show potential. It's, like I said, Capricorn energy. So as long as it's not taking a toxic turn for you personally, it's just talking about a hurdle that you have right now. And you can work through it if you work through it, for both of you. 7 of Cups, I will say there is a bit of a delusional vibe to this as well. So that's why if it becomes too much of one type of thing, there is something imbalanced about that. You automatically know that, right? So you can have an open communication about that, or you can think about it yourself, kind of deal with it accordingly. Okay, so that's what I have for you, Pile 3. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading resonated and that it helps you out. Let me know your thoughts, and if you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box and the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye. Hi Pile 4, welcome to your reading. We will see how compatible you are and what type of compatibility you have with the person on your mind. So I'm going to put this crystal right there, change the mode so you can see more, and we'll talk about this particular card in a bit. At the very end, it talks about the type of compatibility you have. So first, let's get started with the physical part, and then we get into emotional, mental, and spiritual. So we have Justice coming through. This corresponds with Libra. Then we have the World. This corresponds with Saturn. And we have the 10 of Cups. Okay. Physically, it seems very balanced, emotionally healthy, and fulfilling on both sides of the equation. There can also be some open communication. There is a tactful and diplomatic way, in a nice way, you're able to convey the likes and dislikes you have in a physical sense. This can also indicate that you probably met one-on-one from the first instance, got to know each other, perhaps traveling the world or sharing some worldview in common. It can also be that you graduated together and you already have a good foundation to build upon. The completion is coming out very loud and clear, so I feel like you have gone through a lot of upgrades together, especially obviously if it is a longer term relationship. But yes, you've grown together a lot through the thick and thin. That's coming through. And if this is a newer connection, this indicates that you have learned from the past relationships, which helps you in forming this connection in a balanced manner. So yes, it's really good in a physical sense, but it's not really restricted to that. Perhaps it's not even the main focus. There is just a desire to come together from in a mutually receptive, loving, open, and understanding kind of way. That you value your emotional connection and your communication. There's more sincerity, maturity, things like that. It's coming through within this particular connection. So yeah, it is physical, but there can be some restrictions in that way. By restrictions, I mean that you're not constantly behind closed doors, let's say, but you enjoy each other's company. There's also a sense of sensuality coming through. Kind of seeing what would make each other feel happy. There's also a deeper sense of intimacy, so you kind of understand one another on a deeper level. There is a state of love already that's coming through, whether you express that strictly physically or even in an emotional sense. We'll see about that, but yeah, so far so good. Let's see your astro dice for physical compatibility for pile 4, please. Why is the Aquarius constantly coming up? I don't know. But we have Aquarius, 10th house in the North Node. So I like the North Node being there. It says that you're thinking about the long run. You're looking and examining your goals together, or even individually. Is it compatible with one another or not? You could be more busy in a career sense, or both of you could be at a stage in life when you're more focused on career, and that could be one of those things where you're not up in everybody's business at this time, right? You kind of have your individual things to take care of as well, but that is it somehow is working out really well in a physical sense. So even if there are certain inhibitions or restrictions, it's not really getting in the way of anything. It's just actually maturing and growing you, both of you and your relationship, to whatever degree it is at this time, to another level. Like I said, there is a sense of evolution that's coming through here. Like in a cyclical process, you are learning from one another, growing individually, growing together, and so on. If this is a newer connection, this is how it's likely to develop. You definitely learn a lot of lessons. Whenever we have justice, there is a karmic connection to it. For some of you, it can be that you have so much desire to be with one another and you know that it's going to be absolutely amazing, but for some reason there is like a separation. It could be a long distance, for example, or other types of restriction which kind of inhibits the ability to meet in private, because the 10th house is always meeting in public in some way or being seen, while in this particular sector, it's not really about the publicity of it, right? So yeah, that can be a little bit of a tough situation. So yes, take that as it resonates. Okay, let's see some more. I'm getting some hunches, but I want to see the cards. So the emotions, we have death. That corresponds with Scorpio. We have the Fool. Not really sure what this relates to. Can't remember off the top of my head. But the Fool we have, and we have the Chariot. Wow, you have so many major arcana cards. Pile 1 and 2 did not get this many. But okay. Very deep emotions. Also, the Fool is... I don't think there is a naivety to it, okay? Fool generally has the falling very hard, very quick, getting obsessed, and kind of chasing after something that is likely not real, okay? That's when the naive thing comes in. But death has a deeper connotation to it. Even the chariot needs a purpose, and death means the ending of a cycle for a reason. Like, there is a rebirth waiting to happen, but before that we need to let go of the clutter, and clutter cannot happen when we have a naive mindset. So perhaps in the first relationship or the first crush you had, this was more likely that you just fell headfirst into the connection, and you went very deep into it, and you were very active about that, or vice versa, by the way. But for this particular connection, I feel like you've grown from that, you've learned from that. It could be that both of you have been in such a situation before, and that's kind of building the connection or the kinship that you feel with one another. So the Fool in this particular setting is giving me the vibe that you can communicate very openly and freely. There is an innocence about how you understand each other's emotions. You can go very deep, but you can also have it lighthearted, and that happens when you understand one another, and more importantly, both of you are willing to accept each other as is. Not in the sense that we are flawless and everything's just perfect and we should never critique one another so that we could be better, but in the way that I understand how you express that, and I'm cool with that. I totally see where you're coming from. I'm open to understanding. I'm not running away, things like that. We can get through it together, things like that bring you that sense of security. Yeah, that's coming through. And it can also be that this connection itself helps both of you move on from previous traumas or difficult relationship cycles you could have been in. So it's feeling a bit like retribution of other connections not working out. And it can even be like you feel as though, even if you have dated before, this feels as though it's the first time you're dating. Okay, it feels like a first, even if it's not. So yeah, it's a refreshing kind of vibe that's coming through. The Chariot is very nice to have because it links the emotion with the physical part. There is a passion to it, but the passion comes from an emotion, a drive, the desire to achieve something, conquer something in a sense. So there is a very healthy sense of determination here to express what is in the heart. So if something is not feeling right, even that is going to be up on the surface for examination. And that's exactly what is bringing in the justice, the balanced one-on-one relationship where there is equal give and take, there is harmony because both are actively and equally participating. That I don't mean that you do the same things for one another, but like you work according to your strengths and you kind of help balance the other person's energy. So if someone is very shy, meanwhile the other one is a little bit more social, you can learn to be more social or vice versa. But either way, there is an openness to wanting to see the other side and learning from one another and growing forward. The Chariot, also the Death, actually all three of them talk about huge evolution forward. It is literally forward movement by not looking back anymore. You've shut the door on the past, and that's that. So if you are already with this person for some time, this is really feeling very commitment-like, as if you're determined to go the distance, honestly. And if you have been afraid in the past, then, and this is a relatively newer connection, the feeling that you have that it feels like a first is giving you that faith to take a leap forward. And same goes with the other person, by the way. It's a relationship compatibility. So yeah, it works on both sides. Okay, so let's see some more emotional side of things for pile 4, please. Gemini and the South Node and 7th house. Yeah, exactly. So mindsets and patterns from previous relationships and ideas that have been conditioned, kind of made up along the way of our experiences so far, that is being released here through this connection. And this can come from having an open and honest conversation about, expectations, experiences, and what the plan is kind of with the two of you. For example, both of you could be fed up with the types of relationship switches, all concealing and will they, won't they, and do they or not, or like having small talk for a long time, things like that. Different things could be you've outgrown it, and you've kind of determined to not have that repeat in any future connection. So yes, there is a meeting of minds in that way, that we don't want to repeat what has been done before, or we don't want to practice what we have practiced, or what we have seen being practiced by other connections, right? So promise to have open connection, promise to tell me the truth no matter what, and like keeping up to that promise, that sort of dynamic is what I'm feeling. But the promises are basically designed to release previous mindsets, okay? That includes self-limiting beliefs. So like I said, if you've been previously afraid, or the other person has been, this connection helps through its openness and vulnerability and intimacy to let go of those patterns. Very nice. Okay, your mental compatibility. This includes your thought process and also the way you communicate. We have the 9 of Pentacles. We have the 3 of Swords. Okay. And we have the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, this one needs a little bit more work, but this is like about with time and like with active effort, it can be healed. You can work through any misunderstandings, and honestly, even the best of the best relationships have misunderstandings sometimes. Two people can't be in the exact same place in life all the time, or think the exact same thing all the time. There are phases of synchronization and phases of asynchronization where you're supposed to do your individual things. So I feel like there is a good dose of all of that. And I like seeing the earth signs, the pentacles, with the swords, because just with the swords, what happens is it just becomes too heady. All talk, no show, can't put it into practice. It's very nice ideas, but not really sure how it works out in reality. But with the pentacles, there is a groundedness to it, that even if there are misunderstandings, we can work through it. I'm going to say my piece, you are going to say your piece, and we're going to do so in a very respectful manner, and we will pay attention to what the other has to say. But if I'm not wrong, I will not say sorry, things like that. And there is no point of holding grudges, that makes both of us feel insecure and the relationship fragile as well. So we're just going to deal with things as they come and move on from those things, okay? Learn from it, move on. Learn from it and move on. So very healthy attitude is what I'm getting, even if there are certain times where misunderstandings can come in. And these misunderstandings, if it's a relatively newer relationship, can be again stemming from previous relationships and their expectations. So, for example, you must buy flowers every single day. That could be one rule that was hard and fast in a previous relationship, but that's not really the case for you, maybe only on special occasions. But this person might just adopt, or you might adopt, either way, a sense of, pressure that, this has to be done because the other person wants this, regular gifts must be made or compliments must be done, whatever the case is, there is an unnecessary or undue pressure that it builds from originally, but it works itself out, or you have an open communication after some time that kind of solves things. So for example, the flower thing, one person might be, you or they could be like, oh, well, great, thank you so much, and this is a nice gesture, so I'm going to appreciate it. But, if this keeps on going all the time, then one person initiates and goes, okay, but you do know that you don't have to keep doing this, right? Like, it's okay if I don't get a flower every day. Something of that sort, where in time you kind of clear it out. But the default action is from a place of previous experience, perhaps. Sometimes I notice that people expect passive aggression or like, you know, the whole, I'm not sure if how global this is, but when people say that they're not really fine, no, when they say they're fine but they're not really fine, and then that's confusing for people, and then, you know, wanting to spend some time and space away, but then not really expressing that, and instead forcing yourself to be in that space just to not make the other person upset, right? Things like that, where we just assume a certain way about the other person and we react accordingly, but that assumption can be absolutely off in this particular case, right? So I feel like both of you have a healthy sense of self-esteem, but you're like serious about trying to make a relationship work, and therefore taking on a bit of pressure. But yeah, it kind of fixes itself in due time. Yeah. And openness. But you already have that. Intimacy and vulnerability is really on point. So I think it's just going to work itself out. Okay. Let's see. Pile 4, mental connection, please. 10th house, Scorpio, when Saturn. Yeah, again, revealing things that are limiting or coming from the past, toxic ideologies, self-limited restrictions, and, you know, perceived or assumed behavior in public. Yeah, that can also be a thing. Like, are you supposed to, like, for some people, they would like to, you know, call during lunch or meet during lunch if that's possible. For some, you know, come home, something like that. Meanwhile, others are like, don't disturb me at work, right? So that's also another thing. It's kind of a learning curve though, right? Saturn, whenever it's there, it just says patience. You will discover everything in time, and you're gonna have a steady, stable foundation. But it's absolutely necessary to not let the past dictate the present. But again, that seems to be an ongoing process as well. So your spiritual connection, let's see, we have the Ace of Cups, which is very beautiful. I love to see this in a spiritual and, emotional setting. We have 9 of Cups, another cup, so that's amazing. Some of you could have manifested this person into your life, or vice versa. We have the Child of Swords or the Page of Swords. Yeah, so it looks like there are certain things to learn, and disagreements are with purpose. Okay, I'm just going to say that. Any disagreements come up, there is an ideology that is that is in conflict with the original identity of yourself or this person. Okay, so like I said, the assumption thing, and it's frustrating or pressuring because it's not true to them or you, depending on who's making the gestures, right? So like ideally it would be great to not spend too much on, you know, flowers, for example, and, you know, showcase the affection in some other way. Maybe make a bigger fuss on occasions, but not really every single day, or exactly the opposite, where you show, you know, every day a little bit and not be too hectic about the bigger events, except once in a while. So yes, the disagreements have a certain purpose. There's something to learn here, but the original intention of this connection is very pure and very loving. I feel like the outside world and previous experiences have kind of put up a little bit of a shadow or like doubt. Yeah, I'm getting doubt. Like, not that this connection, is it nice or not, or are we I don't think that's the question, but rather, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way? I thought I knew how to express, but I have been wrong before, so I'm not really sure if this is working, you know, and then trying to gauge from one another's, you know, body language, facial expressions, things like that, whether, you know, it makes sense or not. Yeah, Child of Swords is very like curious and like open to observation, and has a very keen sense as well. So I think both of you are kind of reacting off each other as well, especially during arguments. It can feel very conflicting, or it might not be expressed in a very clear way, which can bring about some tough words that may be said. Okay, it depends on each situation, your own way of dealing with things as well. But regardless, the original intention is very pure. It's not said in a way that is hurtful to an irreparable extent. Okay, just can be very cutthroat or very true, not very masked. something of that sort, especially during arguments, and that can feel a little bit difficult, but it comes from a good place anyway. Like, for example, if someone's talking, meanwhile the other person is never listening, then there can be an open conversation, just very direct, like, you don't listen. Why don't you listen? Something of that sort. It's like, what? No, I listen. I was hearing. That defensive act, and then the back and forth. Those sort of quibbles is what I'm getting. But I think in a spiritual sense, that's also very fun and exciting for your souls in some way. It just adds a little bit more flavor. Don't want to keep it too serious. Don't want to keep it too mellow. So, a little bit of spice goes a long way, basically. So Ace of Cups, Nine of Cups is like a wish come true, or like there's a lot of unconditional love, a heart-to-heart connection, and both of you feel very fulfilled with one another on a soul level. Okay, there can be some deeper topics that you talk about. Perhaps both of you are spiritual or have interest in things like this, and that also helps kind of understand your own connection, your own growth as well. Okay, so spiritual connection, please, 454 with that person. Virgo, 8,000 Pluto. Yeah, spiritual, esoteric, psychological, things like that are coming through, but also very deep intimacy and vulnerability, emotional, mental, and also physical coming through. Virgo says that there is a desire to learn something. There is an open curiosity and wanting to discover more and more and more, at a steady pace, not trying to rush through the process, going through the ebbs and flows and learning as we go. So in a spiritual sense, it looks very in alignment with whatever it is you're going through as an individual. Okay. What else? Mysterious forces at play. Yeah, it could be that if there are difficult, physical circumstances which is keeping you at a distance, there is a good chance that it's about to transform. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and for some of you with the Three of Swords in here, it might talk about you're not able to talk to each other too much because you're busy with your individual lives or your career lives, depending where you are. But again, it's an eventuality. Give it time if you want to continue with this person. And it can be resolved naturally. Yes, okay, so that's basically what I got there. Let's see your compatibility type. We have Soul on Fire. This is exactly that, It's a soulful connection, without a doubt. We have a lot of cards that are confirming that. But also, it's very passionate for sure. It looks very much in alignment with your soul, both of your souls. There's that sense of fulfillment and passion, drive. It's like you can spur each other on. You can take each other to a level deeper within yourselves. There is a self-revelatory cycle that goes in through this relationship dynamic. You can't hide from yourselves. You can't hide from one another. It's just out there, up there, whether you're consciously trying to do that or not, through kind of a mirroring and that kinship that the souls have, it just comes to the surface. It can't be hidden, and it does not want to be hidden because it wants to be healed, okay? Ace of Cups is about repairing the heart to its original state. Meanwhile, the Three of Swords signifies heartbreak. So like I said, there is a sense of transformation and ending the past cycle so that a new version, a new chapter of love can begin. With the Fool here is that open expanse, like as if nothing hurtful has ever happened, that type of faith where nothing can go wrong. Absolutely not. That's the state that the soul is trying to return to in some way. Okay, whatever the heartbreak is, even if you've not had relationships before, this can indicate seeing difficult relationships and kind of learning from that to go your own way and not bother too much about it. You can have some subconscious fears about that, but either way, the soul is trying to return to complete wholeness and harmony. Yeah, that's what I hear. Harmony is very key, that you're getting from this relationship, and also cultivating in yourself to be a self, an individual generation of that. Okay, so that's what I have for you, pile 4. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading resonated and that it helps you out. Let me know your thoughts, and if you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box in the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye.